Best-selling author and political commentator Pat Buchanan has a new book out. The title is Suicide of a Superpower: Will America Survive to 2025? Mr. Buchanan has been a senior advisor to 3 presidents, a 2-time candidate for the Republican presidential nomination, and was the presidential nominee of the Reform Party in 2000. He joins us now from New York. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Ashley.
You paint a pretty scary picture of America's future. You say America is disintegrating. Now, one of the presidents you worked for, the great Ronald Reagan, used to always say, America's best days are yet to come. Is that sense of optimism gone forever?
Well, almost 4 in 5 Americans believe the country's on the wrong course. The last 3 elections have been repudiating elections where Republicans were thrown out in 2006 and 2008, Democrats in 2010. I think there's a feeling on the part of America that the best times are really behind her. As Merle Haggard said, are the good times really over for good in America? And I think you will get a majority of Americans fearing that is the truth, and I share their apprehensions.
The second chapter is entitled The End of Christian America. Please briefly explain that.
Christianity as the faith of the American people, which was overwhelmingly predominant, has diminished to the point where 75% now, only 75% identify themselves as Christians, and among young people, 25 to 30% profess no religion. Christianity is dead in Europe. As the Pope says, it has become a desert of godlessness. In the United States, the old mainstream Protestant denominations are splitting and breaking up. The Episcopalians, Presbyterians, Methodists. The Catholic Church in the United States, 1 in 3 cradle Catholics has lost the faith. 1 in 10 Americans is a lapsed Catholic. The parochial schools, 2/3 have shut down in the last 50 years. That, Ashley, is the situation. The problem is that the faith we had, Christianity, provided our moral code, our moral consensus, and the moral community that we all shared. The ideas of right and wrong, what should be done and what should not be done. And so when you disagree on fundamentals like that, it leads, frankly, to what we call culture wars, clashes over abortion, over gay rights. Should there be should there be prayer in the public schools? Should they celebrate Easter and Christmas, those holidays? And the wars continue endlessly. And that's one of the things tearing the country apart.
Chapter 4 is called The End of White America. Now, you call white Americans an endangered species. Why do you say that?
Well, because for the last 30 to 35 years, the birth rate among white Americans has fallen below replacement levels, below zero population growth. By the time we reach 2020, there are going to be more white folks over 65 than under 17. So the white population is stagnating and will begin to die out. Meanwhile, we have tens of millions already here, 40, 50 million immigrants from third world countries where the folks have never before been assimilated, and you got millions more coming. So the end of white America, the title of that chapter was taken from a cover story in the Atlantic magazine that said the same thing, but that is coming, and that seems to me inevitable in the United States. All of America in 2050 is going to look like California today.
Chapter 9 is entitled The White Party, a reference to Republicans. Now, you say they failed to prevent up to 20 million illegal aliens from entering and staying, and have not addressed the issue of anchor babies, and say they could go the way of the Whigs. Of course, that a reference to the 19th century political party that no longer exists. Why do you say those things, Pat?
Well, let's use California as the example. Richard Nixon carried California in all 5 elections in which he was on a national ticket. Ronald Reagan carried it 4 straight times, twice as governor, twice for president. Nowadays, California was a Republican bastion. Nowadays, a Republican can't get elected in California. There are none at the statewide level. McCain got the same share of the vote as Barry Goldwater got in 1964. The reason is the demography has changed. The whites are now a minority in California, and 90% of Republican votes in presidential elections are white folks. But the Hispanic votes and the Asian Americans vote 60 to 70% Democratic. African Americans vote 90 to 95% Democratic. So when the white folks become a minority, as they are a minority now in California, and they are a minority in Texas, eventually Texas is going to go the way of California, and you'll never elect another Republican president if he's running on anything like a conservative ticket.
In your opinion, when did the decline of America as you see it begin?
I think and a fellow asked me, a news reporter or a news commentator, to name the date. I said I think it began in the 60s. And he said he believed it did as well. And he would put the date as November 22nd, 1963, when John F. Kennedy was shot to death. And LBJ came in and wiped out Barry Goldwater and built the Great Society, this enormously expansive project of government, which, while it's transferred trillions of dollars from the productive sector to the non-productive, has created a huge class of dependents in America, the size of a major European country, who pay no taxes but get benefits from free education to Medicaid to food stamps to Head Start to women's children, infants program, all these programs. And I think that basically, I think in part corrupted a people.
How much has the Obama administration exacerbated the decline, and specifically in what areas?
Well, what the Obama administration's done is nothing in terms of turning this around, because they agree with a lot of. The President of the United States, he praised the atheists and things up there at the inaugural. The President of the United States belongs, if you will, I think, to the counterculture. Those are the folks that vote for him. Those are the folks who are with him. They share his beliefs about right to life, say, and gay marriage and all these other issues. And on issues of governance, he's a big government man.
Right. When you see those Occupy Wall Street demonstrations, does that say anything about the decline of America as you see it?
Well, I think it does tell you when I talk about the disintegration and splintering of America. We can take the Occupy Wall Street folks who are demanding all these new things from government, including forgiveness for their student loans, and the Tea Party people who are saying we got to reduce the size of government. And I think culturally, they are two different forces. Politically, they've got some similar grievances, but politically, I think you're going to find that there's profound disagreement, because this group at Occupy Wall Street, they believe, and I think they're morally arrogant, they believe they've got a right to go outside the law to express their form of protest. And I saw that in the demonstrations of the 60s when we were in the White House. You got 500,000 people, around the White House, and all the buses circling the White House to keep them away. So, but it does tell me the Occupy Wall Street groups, that does tell me that is more of the splintering and splitting and separating that is going on right now. And as I say, it's cultural, it's political, it's economic, it's racial.
If Mitt Romney is nominated by the Republican Party, do you think a third-party candidate will emerge similar to your 2000 presidential run?
I think it's a real possibility, because the Tea Party folks and the Republicans, conservatives and social conservatives and others are very apprehensive of Mitt Romney, and they don't feel he's really one of us. And they've got reason for that feeling and that sentiment. But if they do that, if, for example, and I don't know that he would do it, and I have no inside information, if they persuaded Ron Paul to run on a third-party ticket, I think Barack Obama would be easily reelected.
Of the Republican presidential field, who would you put on your team? Who would you say she or he is one of us?
I think certainly I would say Michelle Bachmann is one of us. I think Rick Perry is. I think Herman Cain is. If you're talking about a more traditional conservative, I would say I would certainly put them. Certainly I'd put Santorum in there. And there are others, I'm sure, that are that kind of conservative. But the question is, can they win? And my answer to those I've suggested is probably not. They may, one or more may win a primary or two, but I don't think they can win and defeat Romney. I think the one that has the best chance is Rick Perry, and he's sort of broken his pick and awful badly in the earlier debates. I think he had a better debate, but I think he broke his pick.
Again, the name of his new book, Suicide of a Superpower, Will America Survive to 2025? Pat Buchanan, good luck with that, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.